Astrological Analysis Jkl. Astrology has been with us since the dawn of civilization. Interest has waxed and waned over the years, but astrology persists into the modern era. This is a lecture that reports on the results of a scientific investigation conducted by the French psychologist and statistician, Dr. Michel Gauquelin. This report will analyze those results. Understanding astrology. To begin with, let's look at horoscopes. A horoscope is, essentially, a diagram of the positions of astrological bodies. At the time of birth, the Earth is represented as the center of the solar system. 3 tools assist the astrologer in making predictions. 1. The zodiac, 2. The houses, and 3. The aspects. First, let's look at the zodiac. The zodiac is the background of the universe and can be thought of as stationary, not moving, just stars. In front of this backdrop are the planets. They move across this background of stars, as they rotate around the sun. The astrological houses are another tool the astrologer uses. Its purpose is to divide portions of the sky for analysis. Science tells us that the Earth rotates from day to night, that the planets move through the sky and return to their original positions after 24 hours. The houses are used to divide the sky to represent where the planets are, at any time of the day or night. The aspects are the third tool of the astrologer, and pertains to the angles that exist between planets at any given time. The cosmic roulette wheel. A roulette wheel is a good way to visualize the zodiac, and the houses, and the aspects. Imagine 3 roulette wheels intertwined with one another. The wheels are always moving, and when a human is born, the moving planets and stars drop into their appropriate positions in the wheels. The astrologer makes note of the position of each stellar ball and then provides analysis. Astrology presupposes that many aspects of people's lives are set in stone at birth, and that the positions of the stellar balls in the roulette wheel can be used to predict different aspects of their lives. Dr. Michel Gauquelin looked for statistical evidence for astrological ideas about the zodiac. He did so by concentrating on the Aries sign. It turns out that the qualities of the Aries sign are 1. Domination, 2. Strong will, 3. Courage, 4. Energetic, 5. Fast-tempered, 6. Impulsive, and 7. Strong in military matters. So, Gauquelin drew up horoscopes for 3,439 professional soldiers and calculated how often the astrological bodies would appear in the various zodiac signs. Astrology tells us that these men lean more towards Aries than Cancer. Now, Cancer is another zodiac sign whose characteristics are kindness and emotional upset. Probably not the qualities expected of those interested in a military career. The statistical results revealed that there was no more of a tendency for the soldiers to be Aries than Cancer. Gauquelin continued by analyzing the rising sign of the soldiers. The rising sign is said to be an important astrological factor. The rising sign is the position of the zodiac, on the eastern horizon, at the time of birth. The results of this examination showed that the distribution was exactly the same as would be expected by the laws of chance. Gauquelin continued his investigation by examining 16,000 charts of famous people in the fields of science, sports, and literature. He was unable to find any statistical support that astrological expectations were any more significant than random chance. When evaluating the houses of those professional people he had charts for, Gauquelin decided to concentrate his efforts on the 10th house, because it is the house that governs professional success. Upon analysis, Gauquelin demonstrated that the planet, Saturn, appeared much less frequently in the 10th house for scientists than it did for artists. In fact, the findings showed that Saturn appeared more often in the 9th house, which indicates a disposition towards religion. The 6th house normally indicates negative health. And the 12th house is sometimes called the house of one's undoing. However, no correlation was found. Try as he might, Gauquelin was unable to find any relationships between current astrological doctrines and the reality of his studies. In another study, he analyzed the positions of Mars and Uranus. These 2 planets are believed by astrologers to be so dangerous that they are often predictors of death. He compared the birth charts of 7,000 subjects, and the positions of these planets at the time of their deaths. He was unable to find any correlations with astrological expectations. The following is what Dr. Jakubal wrote to sum up his findings. In France we have been involved for several years in a systematic verification of astrological propositions. Our first task was to evaluate the statistical methods employed by the astrologers themselves. Their techniques were found to be severely limited, the laws of chance are ignored, and conclusions reached without support. The statistical laws of chance, in every case, superseded the purported laws of astrology. Another step in our research was to calculate the horoscopes of more than 50,000 people whose lives indicated some exceptional characteristic, a special aptitude, or gift, or stroke of luck, and also those whose lives were marred by exceptionally adverse conditions. For all these people we noted not only the day but also the hour of birth. In no case did we find a statistically significant difference favoring the traditional laws of astrology. Modern astrology, as a predictive method, relies on the survival of a hopelessly outdated view of the world and of life. It ignores the progress of astronomy and of human biology, as well as all the variables that affect behavior through a lifetime. Every effort made by astrologers to defend their basic postulate has failed. This is a very powerful statement when you consider that Dr. Jakubal was an accomplished astrologer prior to commencing his study. However, the study did show some interesting curiosities. For instance, a definite relation was discovered between horoscopes and careers. That is, if Mars, or Saturn, is ascending in your horoscope, then you are more likely to become a famous doctor. It seems that your horoscope does not indicate what your career will be, but rather, how your personality will develop. It is these personality traits that guide you towards certain careers. All of this evidence, however, runs contrary to the fact that competent astrologers can cast a horoscope and show impressive ability at telling you about your personality characteristics and the very general events that will develop in your life. There is little doubt as to the statistical accuracy of Dr. Jakubal's studies. But also, there is little doubt that many competent astrologers exist. And they do display abilities to predict the future. Computer astrology. It is an arduous task for an astrologer to set up a birth chart. It takes a lot of time and effort. The work is primarily a matter of mathematics, which is performed best on a computer. Theoretically speaking, the perfect birth chart is one that is calculated by a computer. Astrologers have taken to these new programs with open arms, but they do not rely on them solely for their predictions. The field of astrology is not what it seems. It does not necessarily predict the future, but rather, it is something to concentrate on while attempting to stimulate intuition. Ask any good astrologer how he or she is able to predict the future and they will tell you that it is not astrology but rather intuition. What this actually means is that astrology is not a skill. It is an art. For example, you can have one good musician, and one mediocre musician, and, even though the musical scale remains constant for both, it is the interpretation of the musical notes which determines the quality of the music. Determining personality. If we think of astrology as three intertwining roulette wheels, then, if we are to determine a subject's personality, we must consider 1. The sun sign. 2. The ascendant. 3. What planets appear in the first house. 4. The influences of the planets. 5. The aspects. As the astrologer analyzes the above, he or she modifies, and, similar to a chain reaction, the entire affair becomes a juggling act. Also, many excellent astrologers will use the above influences as a type of Rorschach test. You know, those psychological tests that look like an ink blot, and is purported to reveal one's state of mind. The idea is to psychologically analyze your interpretation of a meaningless ink blot. So, in conclusion, the basic idea is to use astrology as a tool to focus attention on something you want to know more about. When you focus your attention, you open a channel to your inner self which stimulates your intuition, like a psychic who uses a crystal ball, tarot cards, runes, or I Ching. As a pure astrologer, You can be only as good as the system of astrology, which Dr. Jakubal has shown to be very poor indeed. However, if you want to use astrology as a focus of attention to stimulate your intuition, then you can become a very good psychic indeed. End.